Greenland, a bountiful land of plenty, complete with grass, trees, a big old beanstalk, magical elves, vegetation abounds. It's a lush paradise, if you will. Iceland, a harsh landscape perpetually covered in snow. Yetis, hypothermia, Santa Claus, elves, still magical but not like the first kind. Sound believable to you? Perfect.
Stop. You just fell victim to an ancient Viking marketing scheme. If you or a loved one moved to Greenland and found that it was not green, or moved to Iceland and found that it was not icy, and that upset you for some reason, then you may be entitled to financial compensation. That's why I, Bjorn Thunderson, fight for you, Green/Iceland, mainly Greenland, because I don't think I'll get many calls from Iceland. Call 1-800-BJORN. That's 1-800-BJORN.
The choice of a Viking lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I know it's pretty common knowledge that Greenland and Iceland kind of have their names swapped, but why? Why is it like that? Well, legend has it that in the 9th century, there was a certain man by the name of Floki,
Vilgerasson.
Nailed it. This legend states that Floki left Norway driven by a desire for exploration and adventure, believing that there was like some cool place to be out west, a fabled land, if you will. When he arrived at this strange, beautiful, lush island, he decided to name it Iceland because he wanted to ward away any other potential settlers from there, wanting to keep it all to himself. Like, who wants to go to a place called Iceland? It has ice in the name. And that's pretty clever, if you ask me, but maybe not entirely accurate. While Floki wasn't a government contracted explorer, he wasn't just out there for no reason. Most explorers explore for some kind of financial gain. And you know what? You don't tend to make money off of a discovery, invention, or any other kind of product if you give it a name that makes people think it's bad or dangerous. Breaking news, a local scientist by the name of Will Williamson has reportedly discovered a cure for cancer. Joining us now is Dr. Williamson himself. Hi, great to be on. Will, you've discovered a cure for cancer. What do you call it? I named it poison. What? Poison. I made it out of enriched uranium. Do not use it. It will give you more cancer. But you've made it through several successful trials. All freak accidents. I designed this to kill people. Listen, I'm going to have to let you go, but thanks for having me on. It's been a blast. I'm going to be rich. Now, there is a possibility this is actually how it went down, but because the Landnámabók, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing correctly, but was the document that this was all recorded in, was written so many centuries after the Norwegian discovery of Iceland, it leaves some room for doubt, so much so that most historians question whether or not this version of events happened at all. You see, documentation does confirm that Floki did exist, but he may have had a different experience. In fact, it's very likely that he had a much different experience. In fact, the Saga of Icelanders claims that he wasn't the first Nord to go there. He knew where he was going and he had plans to settle there, where it was then called, watch me say this because I'm going to pronounce it correctly,
Gardasolmi.
Just like that. Now, Floki had plenty of inconveniences on the way over, such as bad weather, livestock starving, his daughter drowning. When it rains, it pours, you know? Right into your child's pleural cavity. So Floki, probably feeling a little unhappy, settled in a secluded spot for the remainder of summer. Then when winter rolled around, he scaled a mountain to get a good look at the surrounding land. And what was he met with but the sight of, and watch me again because I'm going to pronounce this correctly,
Arnarfjörður.
One of Iceland's snowiest fjords.
Hey, editing Trace here. So I was doing this bit where I would not know how to pronounce an Icelandic name, which was real. I didn't. And then I'd look it up and then just record it in post so I wouldn't have to pronounce it live while recording and mess up the take. But that last one, that one about the fjord, I could not pronounce that no matter how long I practiced it. What is Icelandic, dude? What are you guys doing?
So basically he was like, okay, so this is what I came all this way for. My daughter drowned and my livestock starved, so I could find this proverbial hell spelled with one L, because that's how my version of hell is spelled, and traditionally it's cold instead of warm. Dang it. So Floki was seemingly not very impressed with the land that he had discovered here. So he didn't quite name it Iceland to keep people away because he loved it so much. He named it Iceland because he hated it. And you may be thinking, well, that makes sense. It's not realistic to con an entire group of settlers by naming it the wrong thing. Well, I didn't say that. You see, almost coinciding with Floki's voyage, a man by the name of Eric the Red was doing his own thing. A sort of voyage of his own, but under different circumstances. Unlike Floki, Eric the Red wasn't just striking out on his own in search of success. He had been kind of struck out outside of his own accord. See, Eric had a lot of good qualities, probably. But a bad quality he had was he may have owned a couple slaves, enough to cause an avalanche worth of slaves, which were known as thralls, which are basically like prisoners of war minus the flag. Because one of these days, these thralls who were plentiful enough to cause an avalanche did, and they crushed a whole farm. And these farms were owned by a man named Valjof. And his friend, who was named Eyjolf the Foul, said, I don't like that, and killed all of Eric's thralls. Now, Eric, seeing that all his thralls were killed, was like, hey, I don't like that, and killed Eyjolf the Foul. Eyjolf the Foul's family was like, okay, you weren't supposed to kill him, but that's okay, you're banned. So I guess that made them the bigger people, because instead of killing him, they petitioned the village court to banish him for manslaughter, which took place after several other battles and additional manslaughters, prompting him to be banished for a massive sum of 3 years after killing folk, but I guess that's fine. But you know what? What better way to make an explorer out of someone than to be like, hey, you know that home that you live in, the place you call home? You can't go there anymore, I decided, so find somewhere else. So Eric set out into the great blue yonder, hoping to find another place to live, to be. He heard tell of a landmass out west, discovered nearly 100 years ago by Gunnbjorn Ulfsson. I pronounced that one right. And after nearly 1,000 nautical miles, Eric arrived at this landmass he had heard tell of. Over the course of the next year, he found that the perimeter of the island was perfect for raising cattle, or at least suitable for raising cattle. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of Greenland. Maybe you weren't paying attention earlier when I put one up on screen, but the perimeter of Greenland is about the only part of Greenland that's green. And from what I read, Eric knew this. Like, yeah, that strip of land looks small on a map, and I know it's actually really big, but you can absolutely see the snow from the edge of the island. What's worse, the saga of the Icelanders tells us very simply, and I'll read this verbatim. In the summer, Eric left to settle in the country he had found, which he called Greenland, as he said people would be attracted there if it had a favorable name. He knew. Eric, you sly little guy. You see this number? You see this number right here. That's on you. That number of misery. And that's just modern. That's just the modern number. 1,000 years of generations back. That's on you, Eric. But we just let him get away with it. Why? Because his son discovered America and let this schmuck take credit for it? We're boycotting these ghost kitchens on DoorDash for deceptive advertising. Mr. Beast is catching flack. But not Eric. Couldn't be precious Eric. Priorities, Eddie. Come on. But here's the thing. Since the 1990s, the ice in Greenland has actually been melting at a pretty steady rate. Scientists claim that Greenland will be completely green by 2200, and that's assuming that we keep at the same rate of melting. So what's the moral of this story? If you want something to be true, just lie. And 1,000 years down the line, maybe it'll work out for you. I don't know why I made this video, to be completely honest. Like and subscribe and stuff. Also, if you want to follow my socials, I'm here on Twitter and here on Instagram, and here on TikTok, and here on Threads now. However that works out. So if you want to see more of me, you can go check me out there. And bye.